The content provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your doctor or other qualified health professionals with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast.
Welcome to Season 2 of Life on the Level, a podcast brought to you by two young Aussies living with type 1 diabetes, Isabella McGee and Sebastian Harris. Joined by special guests, it's real stories from people who get it.
Welcome back to Life on the Level, the podcast that dives deep into the real lives of people living with type 1 diabetes. I'm Isabella.
And I'm still Sebastian. So today we have an inspiring guest joining us to share their journey through some of the toughest challenges diabetes can bring, including an interesting story in an ambulance. From experiencing severe hypos to surviving a traumatic brain injury, Brett is here to share his story of resilience and hope.
Brett, welcome to the podcast. I guess, could you start by telling us what sort of inspired you to share your story with our listeners?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me here. It's so exciting to be able to share my story. As a type 1 diabetic, I share the many struggles all of us face every day. But my challenge has always been with hypoglycemia and the devastation that it can cause. And type 1 diabetics often focus on preventing the long-term effects of diabetes, but it's also the short-term effects that can be so dangerous. I wanted to share my story and encourage those out there struggling that it is okay, that you need to be kind to yourself and trust the tools and teams that are here to help us. I think that things like this podcast, social media groups and online videos create a sense of belonging and helps you to realise that you're not alone and that we all face this diagnosis and journey together.
I think it's interesting because I hear of a lot of people struggling with hyperglycemia with diabetes, but not often have I come across people who say the other way around is more of been a struggle for them.
Oh, I struggle way more with hypos
Really?
than hypos, yeah.
Oh, I'm the other way around.
You just stay low for ages. It's like,
there you go.
No thanks.
There you go.
So let's start at the beginning. Obviously, we can skip a few years because that's a bit awkward anyway, but you were diagnosed with type 1 when you were 25 in 2013. So what was that experience like for you and how do you adapt to such a change in your life?
Yeah, well, I just started a new job working as an on-site manager at a backpackers hostel on the Gold Coast. The month prior to being diagnosed, I just got engaged and it seemed like things were all coming together for me. Started with the fatigue, then progressed to my eyesight getting blurry. I can remember getting in my car and driving and not being able to read the street signs or the speed limits. Then, of course, the constant thirst and frequent bathroom trips. My partner suggested I see the doctor as she noticed I wasn't looking well, and I think I lost about 20 kilos in a month, and I knew something was wrong. I remember Googling my symptoms the night before seeing the doctor, and no surprises what the search results were. I had a blood test done the following day, and then the very next morning I was woken by my phone ringing. It was my GP telling me I needed to see him right away. That was the day everything I knew changed. I walked out with a Lantus pen, a blood glucose meter, and an appointment made to see the diabetes educator. It was tough to accept at first. I didn't know much about diabetes and couldn't work out why it was happening to me, but I quickly accepted that this was it. It was permanent, and it was up to me now to move forward with it.
So how did you manage your work and personal life learning to live with diabetes? Because, I was diagnosed younger, and I think that life just with diabetes was a norm for me. I guess being diagnosed a little bit later, was that difficult? How did you adapt to that?
Yeah, it was difficult. I remember everything changed pretty quickly for me. I had to leave my on-site role and return home so that I could better take care of myself. I was fortunate that a previous colleague I knew on the Gold Coast also had type 1 diabetes, and I could call them for advice and help with all the questions I had. My girlfriend then, now my wife of 10 years, was incredible and so supportive. She certainly made the first few months after diagnosis easy to handle. I remember feeling so embarrassed about it initially. If we're out having lunch at the shops, I would always go to the bathroom to inject, even giving myself insulin in the car before we went somewhere and ate, which brings on issues in itself. one of my earliest memories after being diagnosed was sitting in the diabetes educator's office looking at the pictures of patients with advanced neuropathy. And I said to myself then that I wouldn't allow that to happen to me. I would do anything I could to prevent it. From there onwards, I was always happy to have low blood sugar versus being high. I figured this was the right way to go, that as long as I was low, I wasn't hurting myself. And I operated this way moving forward, more lows than I could count. I'd been working in the hotel liquor industry at the time, and that was a fast-paced environment and lifestyle with not a lot of breaks. If I was low at work, it was just, I'll deal with it at a later moment, just push through it for now. I'd be so proud seeing the endo or the diabetes educators and getting a low HbA1c result. I thought that was great, that was the goal. But they always seemed very concerned, and they would tell me this result just tells us that you are too low. This is dangerous.
What was your HbA1c sitting at?
Around then, it was low fives. I know. I remember it was very low fives. Yeah.
To be early diagnosed as well and to have it at low fives. Oh, wow. Okay. So then were you sitting low? Did you not have symptoms, or how low did you have to get before symptoms sort of showed for you?
Early in, I remember the hypos. I was very aware of the hypos early in, and my wife was she knew it. She would know before I was. I'd be in the car talking or start stuttering and losing track of my thoughts, and she's just like, "You're low," and just she was onto it before me. So very early in, I just knew it. I could tell then, but obviously over time that changed.
Like less sensitive to it.
Yeah, it just becomes, I imagine, a part of, like, if you're that low for that long, does it almost become like it's the new normal kind of thing when you're that low that often?
Yeah, definitely. I guess over time, I mean, I just became unaware. Hypo unawareness was definitely one of the issues I had, because whereas initially I could be in the low fours, and that's when I know I'd be low, I could now go into the low threes, the mid twos, without even knowing something was wrong. I'd do a finger check then, and that's when I'm like, oh wow, I'm really low, and I wouldn't have even known. And I wasn't using CGM, things like that back then, so I always see it kind of like you're driving blind without having that heads up at the time. It's just only when you finger check and find out.
And I guess you said you would sometimes ignore them at work and stuff like that. How were you functioning? How did you notice like a lack of performance from you, or, because I can't really do much if I'm 2.5. I'm going to be sitting there and my work's going to be sloppy and my brain's not really, there. So how did you do that?
Yeah, I know that prior to my injury that I had, I'd been working for a bank. I'd managed to get myself in a position of bank manager. So, I mean, I loved that role, but it carried a lot of pressure and meant, again, that instead of focusing on my blood sugars, I would often put that to the side so I could focus on my job and lead my team. My co-workers, the tellers and the personal bankers, they all knew that I had diabetes, so they would often pick up on it, and they would, help me out, which was nice. But I found certainly in that role, I guess I'm always learning things about diabetes, and one thing I learned was that it's not that physical exertion that impacts your sugars. It's often the mental exertion. Your brain requires lots of glucose to function, and that's why I found that meetings, working on a computer spreadsheet with lots of data, or even social events with lots of talking can be the times that hypos occur. But again, just I got to the point where I would just go and go and go, and it was only once I was at that end point, sort of like that point of no return, that I would realise, oh, geez, something's wrong. I need to fix this quickly.
So you mentioned hypo-awareness, and we talked about it a bit with like becoming the new normal. Can you explain to the viewers what that is and what it's like on a day-to-day basis to help even manage it in your experience?
Yeah. Well, our bodies are pretty amazing. they have built-in warning systems to alert us when our blood sugars get low. Fortunately, when you have low blood sugar all the time, your body begins to adapt to this and it sees it as the new normal. This means instead of getting the shakes and sweats or the tingling lips, you just bypass this and go straight to a severe hypo state with no warning. With good regulated hypo awareness, you have the time to treat and prevent severe hypos, but without it, you have a very short amount of time to get help before you go past that point of no return, as I call it. Severe hypos are dangerous. Untreated quickly, it leads to unconsciousness, seizures, potentially brain death. Because I'd been operating with such low blood sugars for so long, my internal gauge on hypos was drastically reduced. I could be walking into a low and have no idea. I'm told that you can regain your awareness, but only through keeping your sugars above those danger zones and re-educating your body as to what is normal.
I think for me, it happened sort of the other way around. I had a period where I didn't look after myself at all, but I left, my sugars quite high, and I didn't notice, I didn't feel the high. I didn't feel that my blood sugar was high at all. And then when I started to get them back into range, I felt low, sitting at 11 or 10. It was crazy, but I could feel I was shaking. My body was like, this is not normal. This is not where you should be sitting. So it does take a while to get back into that, but I think it's important that people know that you can, and it's not, you should do that and you can fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that just it was in 2016 was when I first had my first real severe hypo, and that was just around that time when I was losing that awareness. My daughter, she was 8 months old at the time, I remember, but I'd been out shopping with her all day and going to the beach, and then we got home and my wife got home and she knew I was low. The moment she looked at me, so she gave me a glass of juice. I fell over, hit my head against the wall, and that was my first ambulance call out for a seizure. And unfortunately, after then, I think I've counted 3 or 4 more times I've had seizures, ambulance call outs because of those severe hypos.
What is your blood sugar sitting at? At seizure point, because I've never had. Have you ever had a seizure?
No, I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, I haven't either. But what was your blood sugar at? Because 2.5, I'm still awake, So when did it become seizure?
From memory, it was when the ambulance would come to get me, as I said, 4 or 5 times it happened. They would do a finger check. And I think I was logging a 1.5, I remember, things like that. And from the research I've done, they sort of say that it's kind of below those points is when your bad stuff starts to happen in your brain. You can't function like that. Yeah.
No. Well, there's no glucose going to your head, so
yeah,
makes sense, doesn't it? Oh gosh.
So you mentioned a few times that you had some accidents and situations where you needed hospitalization. You were talking to us before about having these incidents, and one of the ones that you had that was particularly standing out was in July 2023. Can you take us back to that and kind of describe how it felt and what happened?
Yeah, of course. It is tough to explain that day, as I have no memory of it because of the severity of the injury. I had post-traumatic amnesia for just short of 2 weeks. So to me, I've lost that day and the weeks after. It's just a gap in my memory that I'll never recover. So I can only go from what I'm told. But that day I was taking my kids to the local shops for lunch. My daughter, who was 7 at the time, tells me we got to the checkout when I suddenly collapsed. My head hit the ground first, which resulted in 7 skull fractures and a subdural hematoma, which is a
on
brain
concrete.
hemorrhage.
What did you hit your head on?
It was a Coles. So they're kind of laminate sort of tile floors that they have.
Oh, is it like the super smooth floors?
They're pretty rock hard, to be fair.
They're quite hard, yeah. But I had a seizure obviously then, and my daughter tells me she could see me. I was bleeding from my ear. I was taken to the emergency by ambulance and stayed in the ICU for 4 days. I had my family by my side during this time. My brother was at the emergency straight after the accident happened, and he stayed with me day after day until I was moved out of ICU. I stayed in the hospital for 1 month before I was flown to Sydney to stay at the brain injury unit at the Royal Rehab.
Whoa. So I guess that would really change your life, and hopefully the way that you manage your diabetes.
Oh, that's an understatement, if anything.
Well, you'd hope so. But I guess how did it impact the way that you sort of saw the way that you manage diabetes and also your outlook on just life in general?
Yeah. Well, it was incredibly difficult at first. Not having any memory of the accident, gives you the feeling that everyone around you is wrong and that you're fine. It's pretty common in brain injury patients. It's only once you get up and attempt to do things that were once easy and are now difficult that you come to accept that you're not okay. I'd always believed that I was in control of my diabetes, that I knew better than anyone else how to look after myself, but
We've all been
I was
there.
so wrong. Because
we
of
have
this
all
injury,
been there, do not worry, yep.
Yeah. But because of this injury, I'd lost hearing in my left ear. I have ongoing tinnitus. The fracture of my skull damaged the facial nerves, so I'd lost movement on the left side of my face. So everyone came in thinking I had a stroke. Everyday noise was now unbearable, lots of sounds, and even just multiple people talking can be tricky to manage and can cause me issues with thinking and talking. And my balance was impacted by vertigo. It took some time before I could comfortably walk without the need to balance on something or hold a handrail navigating stairs. And one of the toughest long-term issues with a traumatic brain injury is the mental fatigue it causes, which is an issue I'm still working hard on and hope to overcome. But very early and after the fall, I had the diabetes team and endocrinologist visiting me at the hospital. I remember that. They were trying to work out what went wrong and what we needed to do to fix it. They knew what was going on. They'd seen the history of my meetings with them prior. But I have to say, I remember feeling so disappointed very early in myself because, 10 minutes before I fell over at the shops, I was driving a vehicle on a busy highway with my kids in the back. And it seemed so reckless. So that was a turning point for me in learning to respect hypoglycemia and accepting the help I needed.
I guess when you sort of were noticing as these things were happening that you couldn't do what you used to be able to do, how did that make you feel when you were, you'd go to do something and it just would not work? How did you feel about yourself?
I just didn't. I certainly didn't want to accept it at first. I know that. I remember feeling very defensive about it because to me, I had it all together and no one was going to tell me how to operate. I knew diabetes better than anyone else, but I did accept it. Obviously, I had to. I knew I was wrong, but it was it was frustrating. I just had what I thought was a successful life. I had so much going, and then it was like just suddenly, just bang in one day. Everything changed. It was frustrating. It was tough.
How important was it that you had people that you knew that understood it and had people that you could talk to about it? Like, how significant was that in your development back?
It was huge. I'm thinking about just, especially talking with the diabetes team that operates at the hospital there. Talking to them was great, but I got in touch. One of the educators there, she's a type 1 diabetic. And for me, it's always like, it was always great seeing her because sometimes, they all have the same knowledge and the tips, but someone with type 1 diabetes, they get it. They just know when
it's like
you're
the lived experience
you're
knowledge.
complaining about something. Yeah, complaining about the way the pump done something or, this frustrates me. Like, they just get it. It's very helpful, having people to rely on and kind of, it was only after the accident that I really got involved with the sort of, the community, I guess the online communities, the Facebook pages, just sometimes a lot of it's just people venting their frustration, but yeah, you just get it. And that feels nice. Yeah, that you're not alone.
Do you feel when it happened to you that in 2013 you sort of that's when you accepted having diabetes? Because it sort of sounds like similar to my story, different journey, but in that something happened and you went, oh, this is it. I need to accept it and I need to do something about it.
Yeah. That time, I couldn't really understand. It seemed so bizarre because I'm the only one in my family. I don't have brothers or sisters with type 1, don't have grandparents, cousins, anyone. I'm the only one in our history that we know of.
Yeah, and it's like, why?
So I can remember. Yeah, my grandfather's a GP. He's retired, obviously now. He's 91. But I remember asking him, why did I get type 1? And his answer was, you're just unlucky, mate. And I think, honestly, that might be the best answer I've ever received. That's just how it is at this point in time that we know of. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And people who, I guess, do sit their blood sugars quite low, like you were doing, what would you say to them in, one, preventing severe hypos for future, and also the difficulties of doing that for a long period of time? Yeah.
I'd certainly say put your trust in your diabetes care team. They know so much. And although sometimes you want to go it rogue and be the master of your diabetes destiny, they have the tips and tricks to make it better. They only want to see you healthy, happy and successful in your journey. Diabetes is tough, there's no doubt about it. But I was going to say, I really like the visual representation I've seen online of type 1 diabetes being like playing a game of keepy uppy with the balloon with one hand.
The balloon.
Yeah, everyday life with the other hand. That's what diabetes is like. It's a challenge, but it's a part of you and something to be proud of. You're doing the job your pancreas wants done. And, I mean, that's no small feat. Yeah.
No, I think it's pretty cool, and I commend anyone who is type 1 diabetic, because, to do your own job of an organ is not easy.
Yeah, it's not something that was intentional, I don't think.
No, I know, yeah. Imagine doing another vital organ and then just figuring out how to function it.
Oh, gosh, no.
Yeah, no, ridiculous.
So you also mentioned in there about a pump. Now, I can't speak to this much because I'm still one of those people that's like, I'd rather inject, but I am thinking about pump, whereas I know that Isabel has a pump herself. How has that kind of helped you to manage your diabetes, and then did that benefit you in the long term?
Yes. Well, but very early in, after the accident, I do remember I kind of woke up and I remember having this Dexcom on my arm, and I was kind of like, what's that? They put it on my arm because they knew they needed to get something going while I was recovering. But that was a good starting point, helping me stay on top of my sugars and knowing where I was at all the time, and not driving blind. When I got home from my hospital and rehab stays, the number one point in my ongoing rehab was diabetes management. And I took that seriously. I got in touch with the local team and started discussing ways to prevent hypos, how to properly correct blood sugars, stop all those bad habits like rage bolusing, insulin stacking.
I stack.
Towards the end of the year, I got the tandem insulin pump and was finally able to let go of some of those controlling destructive habits.
Yeah, the same one as me.
It's great. But with that, I was able to put my trust in the technology and allow it to make the decisions that I don't believe I could safely do. Although it's never perfect, there have been some minor lows since. I'm on a much safer path, and I do have my healthcare team to thank for that.
I think it is hard for people to, especially when they're already struggling with a loss of control, to then put all the control into a device and to put it on their body and say that's now controlling you. I think that is something people struggle with, and I wonder if you weren't, sort of put in a position where it was just placed on your arm, if you would have even gone down that path. Yeah,
I've certainly learned, and I mean, talking with the educators about this, and I've had so much time now to really get myself just all across type 1, is that I sort of realise, and I'm not saying they're faults, but I can see the difficulties, and one being that when you're on multiple daily injections, taking long-acting insulin kind of has a bad effect in that once you take it, it's there and it's done. So regardless of what you do during the day, it's there and it's just doing its job the way it's supposed to. Whereas with the pump, and someone like me, when I was going low, I was exercising or working, the pump can go, oh, wait, he's going low, I'm going to stop that. And suddenly your basal insulin is stopped. So things like that certainly are a big help. They made a big change for me.
It's not really like it's control. I don't think it controls me. The way I saw it was more the flexibility, like you're saying, that I'm allowed to do more things now because of the device rather than that it's controlling how I manage my health.
Yeah, absolutely. The pump has just, I had a pump previously. I don't know if I mentioned that, but a few years prior, I did go on an early Medtronic pump. And I mean, it was a great device. It was one of the earlier ones that was first relaying with a glucose monitor.
Like
and
a
you could
closed
suspend
loop
insulin.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great, but I had a lot of issues with blockages, and I used to wake up in the mornings with blocked lines and high blood sugar, and that was kind of the reason why I ended up just going, up. This isn't for me, and I took it off. Fortunately, can say haven't had any issues since I've gone back on it all these years later.
Yeah, I do think it's a trial and error process as well, because some pumps work for other people better than others. And then you try one that doesn't work for you and you're like, nope, that's it. I'm out. And you were saying that you have children and your little girl witnessed a couple of your pretty bad lows. I guess, how did she react to that, and how has that shaped her?
Yeah, well, I do have a very early memory. I remember being at home one day. My wife works weekends as a hairdresser, and she still does. But I can remember my daughter being probably maybe 1, and I said to her, I wasn't feeling great, and I was feeling low. I remember laying down in the lounge and telling her I'm not feeling very great. And I remember her coming over at the young age she was, and I remember she sat there and she was just patting my head, trying to, make me feel better. And she done that until I come good again. That was one of the first things I remember. And then later on, she was just always asking me, what's your sugar like? We were going for a walk or we were playing.
She's going to be a nurse.
Yeah, well, I think I know what she was up to, but she knew that when I was low, the Skittles were going to come out of the cupboard. So she would go and get the Skittles for me, but then she would benefit from that as well.
Oh, she's having a couple of my little sister, we had a low cupboard, and I have 2 sisters, one's diabetic, one's not. And she would be like, oh, I can't touch those lollies. They're the medicine. That's medicine.
Yeah.
Imagine having a little kid, like untouchable lolly section.
Oh, no, my daughter's wonderful. And not to mention, I have to say that the day I had the accident at the shopping centre, she was the one that told the ambulance and the off-duty nurses that happened to be at Coles at the time. She told them I had type 1. She was able to tell them where my wife worked and everything. And she was 7 at the time. She was incredible. Yeah.
Good on her. Strong kid. She's on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Brett, you have one of those stories that is extremely inspirational, but also allows people to connect with it, with some of those difficulties and those challenges. So one thing that I want to ask you is, if you could leave one thing with the listeners from your story, what would be the one message you'd want to send?
Definitely. Well, I'd love to give hope to those struggling with type 1 diabetes. Diabetes is what I like to call consistently inconsistent. It's not easy, and every day brings a new challenge, but through it all, I've come to a place where I'm genuinely proud of what I've achieved. I've righted many wrongs, and I've embraced taking type 1 diabetes along with me on my journey. But you need to respect the lows and not ignore them. It can take years of elevated blood sugar to harm you, but it can take just one low on any not so particular day to change everything in an instant. So what's important to me now is finding ways to help others, just as so many people have helped me along the way. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And if my story inspires, I guess, even one person, it's all worth it.
I think it's important to note that he's not saying that having high blood sugars is a good thing. We're just saying that lows are very quickly deteriorating.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess, from your brain injury, is there anything, have you gone back? Have you said hello to the staff that helped you out? Or, they like to check on people's journey and progress?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Well, I was invited back. So just a year after I was discharged from the Royal Rehab, I was invited to join their Wall of Fame ceremony. They do that every year, where they bring back 5 people that have come back and would like to share their stories. They have Pete Overton from Channel 9. He MCs, and you get up there and you tell your story, and you get your photo put up on the wall there. Because I spent a lot of my time spent at Royal Rehab, I was just reading everyone else's stories. I was the only one with a type 1 diabetes story there on the wall that I remember, but I was able to get back up and share that. And that was good for me. That was the first time I'd done something like that and spoke, and that helped my confidence after the traumatic brain injury. But that was fantastic. Yeah.
Well, we'll put some of that in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brett. It was lovely to have you on board.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah.
To our listeners, if Brett's story has inspired you, remember, you are not alone. We may all have a different story, but we all have the same condition. If you're new to our podcast, be sure to check out our previous episodes on all major apps or the NDSS Diabetes Youth Zone website. The website also has useful and practical information that will resonate with you. Be sure to check it out. It's there to support you in your journey with diabetes, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to Life on the Level. Be sure to share this episode with someone who might need a little bit of hope today, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. As we wrap up another episode of Life on the Level, we want to thank you for being part of the supportive community. Your stories, questions, and just being here fuel our mission to offer meaningful support and education to people living with diabetes. Keep the conversation going, stay connected, and remember, together, we're stronger. Don't forget to follow the show to hear more wherever you listen to your podcasts.
This podcast is brought to you by Diabetes Australia. We are leading the fight against Australia's biggest health crisis, working towards a future where diabetes can do no harm.
Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. We pay the utmost respect to them, their cultures, and to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving health outcomes for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people affected by diabetes and those at risk.
All experiences and opinions described in this podcast are of those of each individual guest. Your experience and management may be different.